Hi, everyone, and happy Valentine's Day to you all. We hope you've had the sweetest of Tuesdays this 14th day of February. Weather-wise, certainly it's been a treat to say the least, and we've got temperatures in our forecast period that will push the 70-degree mark. There are a few bumps in the road throughout that equation, and one of those bumps will be tonight, only for those in the very highest of elevations in extreme southeastern Kentucky. Might see some light rain change over to some snow. We'll talk about that. They could see a couple of inches, but no one in the viewing area is going to have to worry about that. And it's going to be a very slight chance for us, and a very brief one at that, and only two brief occurrences or possibilities for some precipitation throughout the entire forecast. So indeed, pretty nice. We'll go into that in more detail in just a few moments. The judgment was just released publicly earlier today in regards to the sentencing of Paintsville businessman Euless Crace this past Friday. I'll have that for you in its entirety. I also sat down with Sheriff Dwayne Price about yesterday's stabbing involving a teenager and her father, the father being stabbed 4 times, who is in stable condition at this hour. I've got some pictures to show you, all of which are interesting, and all for very different reasons, to say the very least, but they all are news related. We'll get to all of that and more in just a few moments. Weather-wise, high pressure, yes, still in charge, keeping us dry today. Low pressure is what's going to give us that chance of some precipitation tonight, and I'm really talking about mainly after 5 o'clock in the morning. It's about that time we'll have a 30% chance of some showers, and only about a 10% up until about 7 or 8, so a very narrow window, and I don't see much happening there as of this time and hour, but we'll tell you more about that in just a few moments. Right now, Sheriff Dwayne Price of Johnson County tells us more about a teenager who stabbed her father early yesterday morning. A 14-year-old attacked her father. Why? We're still not sure. Deputy Terry Tussey, who answered the call at the home in Oil Springs yesterday morning, while I was at the Sheriff's Department earlier today, he was in Pikeville interviewing the father at the Pikeville Medical Center, where he was transferred after being first taken to the area hospital in Paintsville, Paul B. Hall. He was trying to find out more, that being Deputy Tussey, as to what led up to the altercation. Meanwhile, Sheriff Dwayne Price, as you're about to hear more, told me that a verbal disagreement escalated into an altercation that has left a child charged with felony second-degree assault for the stabbing that happened very early yesterday morning.
Somewhere around 6:30, we received a 911 call out in the Oil Springs area of a stabbing, and we, of course, dispatched a deputy out there, and there was a male subject stabbed a couple times in the back, up near the shoulder, and then twice in the abdomen. They transferred him from the scene to Paul B, and the injuries were, I guess, serious enough for the ER at Paul B. They just transported him from there up to Pikeville Methodist to the trauma center, just to make sure he didn't have anything life-threatening, some internal injuries that maybe they weren't comfortable with at Paul B. Hall. But we do have the officer investigating the case. He's at Pikeville Methodist right now, talking with the victim to see what his if he could shed some light on why this occurred.
And while the father is in stable condition, the juvenile, we are told, has been turned over to the custody of a relative.
We went through the CDW's office, court designated worker. We informed her of what was going on. Of course, she conversed with the judge, and it was the judge's decision to set up an emergency hearing, which will be tomorrow in Johnson District Juvenile Court. And they released the juvenile to a relative until tomorrow.
And while any adult should know, Price wants to remind them, as well as any of our children and young people alike, that it's a major crime to use any type of a deadly object or weapon to strike and certainly attack someone, and that if there is anyone who is afraid that they'll find themselves in that type of a situation, that they can simply call the Sheriff's Department and ask for help or even advice.
Most of what we see on complaints we go to, somebody gets in little scuffles, assault fourth, which is a Class A misdemeanor. Now, if you start picking up knives, guns, and you start causing serious physical injury, it goes up to assault second, first, which changes it to a felony, and a whole lot more jail time, and plus tarnish your record. Well, the only other thing that I guess that I told the deputy, to let the media know that anybody watching, whether you're an adult or a juvenile, if it comes to picking up a weapon and using it on somebody, it's not worth it because the end result's not going to be good for you, whether you're an adult or a juvenile. So what we would encourage, people to do, if you got a problem at your home or wherever you're staying, there's other means besides physical force. I mean, you can pick up the phone and call. You can call our office. We'll do everything we can. We don't care if you're a juvenile or an adult. We just want to prevent this type thing from happening in the future.
As for more on the current custody of the child was released, as I said, into the custody of a relative, which was the child's mother. And once again, that's pending an emergency hearing, as you heard Sheriff Price say, that is scheduled to be held tomorrow. I'll be right back. To get high-speed internet on their state-of-the-art fiber optic network for all of your home and business solutions, or to watch TV without a contract on over 200 digital channels with superb quality, or stay connected with family and friends with 24/7 telephone service you can always depend on, contact Foothills Broadband today. Or just click on their link to the right to find out how they're working to provide the latest in communications at affordable prices with exceptional service at Foothills Broadband. With the two other co-defendants in the case already sentenced, going back weeks ago to Larry Harold, former Paintsville Utilities manager, sentenced to 2 years of supervised release, 2 months of home incarceration, and a fine of $5,000 for his part in the case. And then Mayor Bob Porter, former Mayor Bob Porter of Paintsville, sentenced back on January the 12th to 4 years in prison and a $4,000 fine in relation to him being found guilty of stealing or taking or receiving $7,000 worth of utility services for which he didn't pay for on properties that he owned in Paintsville, and then using thousands of dollars in city and federal monies to pay for personal expenses. That left the third and final defendant in the case, co-defendant Euless Crace, a Paintsville businessman who was accused of giving Porter money in exchange for favors for his Paintsville businesses. The judgment just released earlier today in regards to Crace's sentencing, which took place in the Lexington Federal Courtroom just this past Friday. He was sentenced, as were the others, near the maximum of the possibility, 18 months out of a possible 24 to be served beginning in April. For funneling thousands of dollars into former Mayor Porter's wife's bank account in exchange for those business favors, if you will, he ended up changing his plea to guilty for paying a public official and faced up to 2 years in prison and a fine of up to $250,000, and was the last, as I said, of those to be sentenced, and was so before a federal judge this past Friday on that charge of paying a gratuity to a public official, for which he was ordered to be committed to the custody of the Federal Bureau of Prisons to be imprisoned for a total term of 18 months. The court also made the following recommendations to the Bureau of Prisons: that the defendant, Crace, serve his period of incarceration at a medical facility, that he also receives a medical evaluation and all of the necessary treatment. Also, that it's recommended that Crace serve a period of incarceration at a location closest to his home for which he would qualify. He must report to prison at the designated Bureau of Prisons facility yet to be determined before 2 o'clock on Monday, April the 10th. Some other terms of his sentencing: for his supervised release, he must serve a term of 1 year. There are several normal, mandatory, and standard conditions, of course, which he must abide by. He has to report to his probation officer. He cannot knowingly leave the federal judicial district where he is authorized to live without first getting permission. He must not communicate or interact with anyone who he knows is engaging in any type of criminal activity. He can't break any laws, and he can't own or possess a firearm. Standard and mandatory parts of supervised release. There were some special conditions also bestowed upon Crace. He shall attend and successfully complete any mental health diagnostic evaluations and treatment or counseling programs as directed by his probation officer, and he shall pay a cost for those services, or pay the cost for that service. He shall also not incur any new credit charges or open any additional lines of credit without approval from his probation officer, and he shall provide the probation officer with access to any requested financial information. In addition to his sentence of a year following his 18 years to serve, that being a year of supervised release, mind you, he was also ordered to pay a $5,000 fine as well, which apparently was arranged to be paid in one lump sum. Once again, to report on April the 10th to a federal prison, a medical facility which has not yet been determined. More headlines in a moment. Right now, a lot happening on tonight's McGoffin Farm Bureau community calendar. Several events, some coming up in several days, but I wanted to give you a chance early to put them on your radar, so to speak, and more specifically, your calendar. First, a few birthday wishes, and this one was for yesterday, which I filed under today's date, so with my apologies and a little bit belated, nevertheless, a very happy birthday wish, a happy 30th birthday wish, it says, going out to Samantha. Samantha, with a whole lot of love, I was asked to say very happy birthday to you on behalf of your mom and your 5 kids as well, so a happy 30th birthday to Samantha. Also got a birthday wish, and, we can't pass these along without saying, well, happy Valentine's Day, too. We don't do Valentine's Day wishes, but hey, if you got a birthday that falls on Valentine's Day, glad to throw it in. Happy birthday to Tracy Lynn Johnson, love Stacy, and a whole lot of family and friends. Happy birthday to you as well. On to other announcements. A reminder that McGoffin County's Safe Coalition meets tomorrow the 15th, 1 o'clock, in the McGoffin County Health Department's education room. This meeting, of course, is open to the public. Everyone is invited to attend. And a host of other announcements as well from our McGoffin County Senior Citizen Center. Commodities or food boxes for our seniors are going to be given out this Thursday at 12:30. Also, Marlene wanted me to pass along that this is the month that everyone has to recertify, so they're asking that everyone brings in proof of income for all the people in their household, and also that they're going to be going to Frankfort this Friday for an AARP rally to secure funding for our senior program, so all boxes must be picked up this Thursday beginning at 12:30. And remember, you have to recertify, so bring your information for your income. And this one is 2 together here. They have a couple of events coming up. It's called Your New Normal, Life Beyond Breast Cancer. They're free workshops for women breast cancer survivors, sponsored by the Kentucky Breast Cancer Trust Fund and many others. And they've got 2 set up. They've got one March the 18th at the Carter Caves State Resort Park, and they've got another one at the Natural Bridge State Resort Park on the 25th. You have to register by March the 4th for the first one, and I'll have that number up for the next few days, so just keep in mind, if you're interested, want to find out more, we'll have that information for you here on our calendar. Also, coming up on the 21st, that's Tuesday, a legal and financial planning education program sponsored by the Alzheimer's Association. That's going to be at your extension office here in McGoffin County, Tuesday 11 till noon. That's Tuesday the 21st, and you have to pre-register at 800-272-3900. If you want to be a part of that, I'll be reminding you over the course of the next few days. This one not until the 25th, but I'll put it out there early for a couple of times. An Evening with the Lees. That's the Lees, Mr. and Mrs. Robert E., at the McGoffin County Health Department, Saturday the 25th for 2 hours that evening beginning at 7. It is completely free and brought to you by the McGoffin County Civil War Committee. A wonderful evening. These Chautauquas have just been a wonderful success and a wonderful informational series for our young and old alike. So I'll pass that along to you on a few more occasions. That leaves me time just to pass along one more announcement. That is when you've got birthdays and special announcements, this is how you get them on the program so I can tell everyone about them. A reminder of services to be held in honor of 86-year-old Laura B. Marshall of Blaze Branch, who passed away on the 9th. She's survived by her granddaughters here, Crystal Reisner and Danielle Jones. Visitation is the rest of this evening and prior to services. Once again, they start tomorrow morning. I have 1 o'clock in there. I have a correction. Now I'm told that I had that wrong, and it's at 11 o'clock in the morning. My apologies. 11 o'clock in the morning for services for Laura B. Marshall. I've also just learned of the passing of Dolores Perkins, 78, of Sagersville, who passed away on today's date. She's the wife of James Perkins. I'm also told that arrangements are being made at this hour and to be announced soon by the McGoffin County Funeral Home. And I've got a couple of very unique and special pictures that I want to share with you this Valentine's Day in closing as I am rushing out to catch the Hornets hosting Pikeville tonight, the last home game for the boys. And of course, the season is over this week in district tournament, as I went into great lengths last night to inform you, starting this coming Monday, and we'll talk more about it later on in the week in a few different areas. But for now, a few pictures that we want to share with you. One in lieu of tonight's Kentucky Wildcat Tennessee matchup that starts at 9, and a couple of others that certainly go along with Valentine's Day. We'll begin with the reference to the Kentucky-Tennessee matchup tonight. Tip-off is at 4 and 9, so you can catch the Hornets game, come back, and have a little Valentine's evening in front of the tube, catching the Cats play. And in honor of that, this picture caught my eye. Adam Mans of Tip Top, who, of course, is synonymous with capturing the life and history of Tip Top, caught this on a trail camera. Looks like the cat's been caught in something throughout its history, possibly there. Nevertheless, Bobcat, I thought, made a good picture, and I was so gracious. I was so glad that Adam was gracious enough to allow me to share that with you tonight. So, a beautiful picture caught on a trail cam, bright, sunny day. You don't catch those pictures very often. I'm a firm believer that social media and phones and cameras and all that evolution in the past few decades, mostly this last 10 years, has enabled us to see more of our wildlife. There's no doubt, but I also think there's no doubt that we have a greater population of wildlife than we did even when I was a kid. And not just bobcat, but also, of course, bear and a whole lot of other species that we saw very rarely. And we see them more often now, I believe, because of technology and having a camera of some kind in our hand at all times. But I think as well, there are other reasons. Mother Nature is expanding as well. Adam Mans, thank you for this picture. And go Kentucky tonight. And on a Valentine's Day note, Senior Citizens Director Marlene Howard passed this along and asked me to do the same. This year's King and Queen at the Senior Center today, where I'm told they had a wonderful Valentine's Day. So, a very happy Roger Dale Minix and Nellie Arnott, celebrating, along with everyone else down at the center, Valentine's Day. Marlene, as well as Roger and Molly, or Nellie, I'm sorry, Nellie, my writing is terrible. Thank you for the pick. And while in just a second, I'll be talking to you about a post-Valentine's Day forecast with temperatures soaring near the 60 and 70-degree mark, not near, but past the 60-degree mark into possibly the low 70s in the next few days. I remember this picture was on file. This was February the 12th or 13th of 2015. So just a little comparison to draw, if you will, as to where we could be weather-wise this time around. Not saying winter's over by any form or fashion, but wow, what a mild one, certainly in comparison to the last 2 years, it has been. Valentine's Day last year was a little white. Actually, once again, that was a year before last of 2015 when I snapped that picture. That was actually out here in the front porch where some light snow had blown in here at the newsroom. But still, you know, it's Kentucky weather, and you just never know what to expect after, you know, a day or so. It's about as far as our forecast is really correct anymore, it seems as though. But if you go out to the end of the forecast period between now and this time next week, we're talking about 60s and possibly 70s making a run. I'm telling you, it's going to be a nice few days. 39 degrees tonight under mostly cloudy skies. West-southwest wind, maybe 6 miles per hour. I've got one clocked right now at 3 miles per hour if you're catching the early show. We do have a 30% chance of some showers. This is technically, for us, if you're in the viewing area, after 5 o'clock in the morning, and a 10% chance of rain before 7. A very narrow window. And even though we saw a few drops earlier today, it just barely was enough to be noticed on the concrete and blacktop and on your windshield. And I think we might see just a little more than that during the overnight, but really the early morning hours, once again, between 5 and 7 or so. But it's going to be very light, and I think it's going to be obviously wet. And that's it. I mean, we're talking about some temperatures right around the 40-degree mark, so we're not going to see any snow. For tomorrow, that daytime high is not going to climb anywhere. 39 tonight, 42 on your Wednesday. Partly sunny skies. Winds out of the west-northwest, maybe 5 to 10 miles per hour. Maybe gusts upwards of 15
time to time and briefly, but nevertheless, only a slight chance of some precipitation very early, then sunny and 42 tomorrow, and then watch the pattern. Ladies and gentlemen, Thursday 42, partly sunny, dry, and calm. Friday, mostly sunny, 58, and clear skies that night, lows in the low 40s. Saturday, mostly sunny, mid-60s. There's the other little bump in the road I was referring to, a 30% chance of showers right now, mainly before midnight, so we're talking late Saturday night, won't affect your day at all, and that even might dissipate, even the chance might dissipate between now and Saturday. I'm kind of holding out that it will. Sunday, low 60s, again, partly sunny. Washington's birthday is next Monday. That's 69 and mostly sunny. And 69 is very close as you can get to 70. And I've got near 70 again on Tuesday of next week. So Saturday, Sunday, low to mid-60s. Monday, Tuesday, upper 60s, maybe 70 degrees.
That's going to do it for this February 14th. Happy Valentine's Day again, everyone. Thank you for watching. Hope to see you back here tomorrow night.